Welcome to the Way We Capture podcast. This is a podcast that is dedicated to photography and aims to provide guidance and support to individuals looking to improve their photography skills. The podcast focuses on self-development and also discusses the future of technology and image processing. Through the podcast, listeners can learn about various techniques, tools, and resources to enhance their creativity and productivity. The podcast also explores the creative process behind capturing stunning photographs and how to effectively communicate through photography and storytelling. This week's guest, DrewXInsights. Drew is known as the athletic creator. His whole mission, helping you strive in the creator economy through peak performance and content. I really enjoyed this episode. I think you're going to enjoy it too. Drew is full of insights, for lack of a better word. Let's dive into it. Welcome to the Way We Capture podcast. I'm your host, Zachariah Rock. Today's guest is DrewXInsights. Been meaning to have this conversation with Drew for quite some time. I just did the intro, and so I will let Drew tell us a little bit about himself and what he does from his own words.
Hey, so my name is Drew, and I've been in the whole content space for about almost 2 years now. And I've started several business models. I'm also an athlete. I've been an athlete since the 6th grade. Basketball, football, track. Right now I'm running track in college while maintaining my my entrepreneurship journey. So a little bit about what I do. So it's really varied, but as of now, with my personal brand that I'm currently building up, I'm mainly looking to help digital creators like online coaches and stuff, as I did in the past with my agencies. And I'm just trying to help them optimize their performance and also their content ecosystem so that they can perform at their highest without burning out, because I burned out in the past and I overcame that. And that's just to keep it simple.
I like it. Less is more. Less is more. So you have a bit of a athletic background. You are dubbed the athletic creator. I really want to dive into that a little bit because I read through your story and it was pretty inspiring. You know, we've all faced burnout once or twice. For the most part, I think people who face burnout really aren't doing the right things with their lives, because if you love it, you're probably not going to get burnt out on it. But when you're young in that ecosystem, there's not a lot of support for the churn and burn rate of burnout. So tell me a little bit about that. So blending athletics and creativity, that's a big step. There's not a lot of people doing that. So as a hybrid athlete, I know you did track and basketball. That was a huge passion of yours until you what was it, a groin injury that kind of prevented you from going on a little bit further?
Yeah, that was with basketball. So I got invited to a bunch of college invitations like D2, D1, D3. My throughout my whole junior year and even my senior year, but I couldn't go for two reasons. One was that groin injury, and two, I went to summer school for chemistry. Yeah,
been there, man. I've hated chemistry.
It was my first time ever going to summer school too, my whole life.
Oh yeah. So. No, I was not a fan of chemistry in school. My chemistry teacher definitely was not a fan of those who were dumb when it came to chemistry. So with as a hybrid athlete and former content agency owner, how do you think the discipline and resilience from athletics translate into the creative economy? Can you share a specific instance where your athletic mindset significantly influenced the creative process?
So I'll start off with one thing. So as a kid, I actually used to be very creative for my age, because back in the 6th grade, I was creating YouTube videos. I was editing them. I was creating stop motion animation intros and stuff. I was creating a bunch of designs on Photoshop and everything. And from there, I honestly just kept on doing I kept on the creative habit through Minecraft and stuff, where I would build cities and neighborhoods and stuff like that. But back to the question that you asked. So honestly, wait, sorry, can you repeat the question again?
I got you. So how do you think the discipline and resilience from athletics translate into the creative economy?
So back then, when I started off my journey around the end of junior year, I pretty much just told myself that there's no point in just like just working a job and not doing anything on the side, because knowing me with the people I'm around as well, like my dad is an entrepreneur himself and so are my half brothers. So I've just always wanted to like have a life of freedom, and I knew that having a life of freedom comes with doing things that most people don't. So basically, the discipline that I got from my whole athletic journey throughout the years, it just translated into business, because I knew that when I'm obsessed over something. So for basketball, I was obsessed with that for the past like 7 years, and so I knew that I can translate that into business as well. Also considering that Grayson Lupus, I'm not sure if you know him. He's a
Not aware.
he's
No.
an he's an upcoming creator in terms of SMMA and coaching, all
Okay.
that stuff. But I saw Grayson Lupus was also in the same like trajectory where he went to college for basketball, and then he just told himself that he does not want to do it. He wants to pursue something else. And yeah, I just believe that trying new things, regardless of your experience, as long as you have the mindset to continue on, then you're already set up for success. Like it's just a time game at that point.
I love that, man. It's a long game. I've noticed athletes really take to the long game because they realize like the chances of success are so minuscule that if you're not playing the everyday grind, committing to doing lever moving activities, then success is already just fleeting. So, Jack Moses, are you familiar with him by any means? He was a D1 quarterback, and it was just so interesting to see how all these athletes are starting to just go, you know what, college isn't paying us like they're paying the pros. Why we go put ourselves on the line like that? Let's go commit to the real arena, which is becoming an entrepreneur and creating content online. It's a hard, long game, but dude, I respect the endurance run. So I read a bit about your story too. In July, you started your newsletter. Is that right? Last year?
Yeah, around there, around the end of July.
We're on very similar trajectories. I started mine in March, and that is a long game, especially when you're writing to absolutely no one. Which this kind of leads into the next question. So the Wolfhounds Creative Odyssey, this is your creative project with writing a newsletter. So it focuses on actionable advice for digital creators. Could you share a particularly powerful piece of advice from this newsletter that has resonated with your audience?
Wow, that's a hard one.
Just off the top of your head, man, like one of your best performing blog posts.
I'd say the best performing ones revolve around content, because, as I said, I have past experience with that. So the biggest piece of advice I give on content is definitely just trying to just sharing your experiences, because in the past I tried to create content that would just be like a how-to. I would like low-key copy other people's content when I was trying to build my brand for my content agency. But after a while, I just realized like that's not the way to do it. You have to share your experiences so that people can actually not only relate to that, but you can also attract people who are similar minded, and also attract similar minded clients, so that you're working with someone who you actually like.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I've learned that lesson a bit. I feel like you constantly have to be relearning that lesson too. It's not just like a one and done kind of thing. It'll run away from you for sure, but it's hard, and I think it's worth doing because it's hard. This whole content game. I was talking to a buddy recently, and I've been doing a lot of short form video content. I have a background as a photographer and a videographer professionally, and he's like, "How did you make this video?" And so I'm explaining all the steps. He's like, "I can't do that. Like that, I don't want to take the time to learn how to do that, any of that." And I'm like, "Well, like I'll help you out, but after a couple free videos, like I'm not gonna just be doing stuff for free, because it is time consuming." So
Yeah.
but I love that, dude. So let's kind of get into this injury. I want to kind of dive deeper into this story. You mentioned the groin injury that impacted your basketball and track dreams. How did this experience shape your approach to physical performance and mental fortitude, especially in your current endeavors?
So in terms of the physical performance, I honestly just kept going. Like
Wow.
I didn't stop. like, sure, it may not be the best thing to do if you're injured, but I try to mix in certain like rehab exercises to fortify that injury. But in terms of the basketball dreams, that I was mainly focused on basketball. Track is was mainly on the side. I only ran 1 year, but I'm running now in college as of now.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, yeah,
Dude, that's awesome.
and yeah, I know. But the injury right now is not bad at all. Like it actually went away because I've had people in I've had the PT guy help me out with the whole injury stuff. I've taken more ice baths and yeah, so the injury right now is not like there anymore.
Groin
But
injury is that's a gnarly one. That is definitely that's not a fun thing to experience by any means. So you just kind of persevered it through it, and you developed your grit muscle. That's what that sounds like.
yeah,
You're a gritty person if you're working through an injury like that, man. So fucking hats off to you. That's something where I've struggled, and I started running recently, and I've done a little bit of bodybuilding here and there, and just trying to up my performance because we're in a similar realm. You start creating content online, and you almost have to level up and grow as a byproduct. Else, like you're kind of not in alignment with what you're preaching. So being, I want to coach more for productivity and creativity in a similar, your performance, productivity. It's all just buzzwords that essentially mean the same. So I started running as I have a buddy, his whole family, they do these 50K ultras. They host these events and they're big runners across the state. Track and cross country, state champs and whatnot. They do such a phenomenal job, but they have this business where they start getting all these high performers. And he was telling me, it was like every person that signs up, they have to submit like all this information about them. And typically the pay range of which they usually all make over $150,000 a year, and they're running these 50K ultras. And I'm like, that's grit and perseverance. That's doing something that the average person wouldn't do. So it's just really crazy how everything is connected in that realm. And I'm sure you've seen it time and time again, like the principles of athletics or bodybuilding, for instance, translate to business, which is a big Danco thing.
yeah.
I love that. So, in the realm of content creation and peak performance, how do you balance the need for creativity with the demands of high performance? Are there any specific routines or systems you follow to maintain this balance?
There's quite a couple. I mostly read about them, but I try to preach the fact that creativity comes from mental clarity, and mental clarity comes from performance, peak performance. Because if you're not performing right, you're gonna be in a mental haze all the time, and if you're in a mental haze, you're gonna be, you know, you're just not gonna have the creativity that you need to build a unique brand or an impactful brand.
Dude,
So
that sentence just gave me mental clarity. that that is one of those things where I think so many people are constantly preaching about it, but there's not a lot of people actually, you know, committing their lifestyle to it.
exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, in terms of like the habits and stuff, I have like four different softwares that I use to basically like optimize my whole lifestyle. But apart from that, outside of that, like I definitely recommend walking in nature. I even took up fishing when I was burned out. I took up fishing and I cultivated more clarity like that. Came up with more creative ideas
Dude,
because I was writing a book at the time as well.
I read a
Um,
little bit about that. 8,600 words, something or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
it was around there. Yeah,
dude, that's hard. I'm in a similar game myself, and it's just like you can just keep writing and writing every day, and it seems like it's like, where am I even going with this? Or is anyone ever gonna see this? And you're trying to tell your own story, but there is a lot of fishing. I'm still like, what? I haven't heard that yet. So, dude, I might have to try that out. You should write a thread about your fishing experience with creativity. That would be that'd be pretty interesting to read. So
yeah, I haven't thought about that.
yeah, fishing. That's most people are like, just put on the blue light blocking glasses and get on a treadmill and start walking or go for a run. But fishing, there's a lot of tranquility involved in fishing and
Yeah,
patience. So, huh, that does tie in really well.
definitely something to try out, man. Trust me.
Definitely, I used to when I was a kid. My brother and my dad are really big into it, but Not so much, when I was younger, I didn't cultivate patience as much as I have in my recent years. So I'll think about that. That's a nice little anecdote. All right. So you you've talked about you went and studied and you've been in a part of the creator economy for a while. You've spent all sorts of money on, absolutely everything under the sun that you can in this economy just to level up, grow your business. You've expressed interest in psychology and neuroscience. How do these fields inform your approach to content creation and performance enhancement?
So in terms of neuroscience, I'm not the biggest guy on that. I've read like two books on it. One is Blue Mind, how being near water or on water affects your mood and your ability to create a better business. But in terms of psychology, marketing is literally just psychology in a
Yeah.
nutshell. So I definitely recommend people to read more on psychology because if you want to get in the head of your readers, you need to know what sort of biases and what sort of biases affect people's everyday decisions. A pretty good book. I can actually grab it right now.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
Just give me one sec. But it's amazing. It's not a book I've heard many people try to read, but I don't know if you can see this.
The Art of Thinking Clearly. I
Yep.
actually haven't seen that book. I haven't. You're the first putting it on my radar, dude.
No, yeah. I've never seen many people preach this book, so that's definitely a good one. I recommend by Rolf Dobelli.
You a big reader yourself?
Yep.
What do you think was the book that really started to make everything click for you?
Um, I have it right next to me, actually.
My man, dude, I love Morgan Housel's writing. I actually just got my girlfriend to start reading it because The Psychology of Money is it's a timeless classic. And it, oh gosh, have you listened to the How I Write podcast with David Perel?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it. No.
Definitely check it out. Morgan Housel has an episode with him where he talks about that book and the new book he just released. But the way he writes is so different from all the bullshit frameworks and stuff that we see online. But I definitely, after listening to that podcast with Morgan Housel, I was just like, wow, the book he wrote makes so much more sense after listening to that podcast because he just dives deep into like his life's philosophy outside of, being a finance writer. But just how he got his start and everything was phenomenal. So, dude, I love that book. I see, like mine's, bro.
Yeah.
I would say for me, the book that really got me going was probably like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. That I read that a while ago when it first released, and his writing is kind of like he's drunk, like he's just a drunk guy in a bar ranting. And for some people, like they hate that, right? But that's kind of like what he was going for. And so that's what stood out to me is because it did feel like someone really wise was going off about just like ridiculous subjects and people, and everything's connected with individuals, right? Like, we share so much of our time, our happiness comes from our ability to be around other people and foster an environment that's healthy. But that's great. You got any other book recommendations? Just, out of left field.
Yeah, I have like two of them right here, actually. This one I just picked up yesterday,
Rip.
2 days ago. Rip, the Art of Working Smart. It goes over a bunch of like softwares and tools and just ways of optimizing your lifestyle. It's like work less by doing more. And Limitless.
Jim Quick. Dude, I haven't read that, but I've watched a couple of YouTube videos, like synopsises. But dude, the whole book thing, once you start going, it becomes everything. You're just constantly telling people like, hey, like to my brother, I'm like, did you read that book? Or I'm like throwing people books out of my library. But it's like a masculine urge to create a library, and then it's just like you look at it, it's like, oh, it's beautiful. And then you pick up a couple. But last year, one of my favorite books was The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I thought that was so well written, and it actually he writes very similar to Morgan Housel with their very like small chapters, but really impactful. Less is more kind of principle there.
Yeah. I actually picked up that book. It's very good. I
Oh,
like it.
dude, it's fantastic. I always go back to it, especially when I've been in like a creative slump. And from time to time, as a creative, like you'll notice that like the spontaneous nature of creativity just kind of seems to disappear in specific seasons. And then, we have habitual creation, which is, all of last year. That's what I was focusing on is, well, I don't feel too creative. So let's still sit down, try to, just get started, take some imperfect action. But, you're definitely going to have terrible fucking work.
I think that's the best thing though. Like having seasons of not being creative. I think that's the best like moment to just lay back, reflect, and just come back better than before.
Yeah.
Because if you're not pushing yourself as you are usually because you don't have the creativity at the moment, then it just makes sense that you're gonna come back better than before. So
Dude, absolutely. It's almost like going into injury, like a football player breaks his ankle, he comes back the next season, gets MVP in the NFL, something like that.
yeah,
Dude, it's crazy how like a little bit of rest is such a crucial part of the performance, equation. But people really, I feel like they've been brainwashed almost like the past like 8 years into just like hustle culture, grind, 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 grind. But then you ask those people why do you believe it to be like working hard as a badge of honor? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. But we have like a Protestant work ethic in this country. You're located in the US, right?
yep,
I'm assuming so. Are you like East Coast?
yeah.
Yeah, West Coast over here. So, or not West Coast, like kind of Midwest, kind of West Coast. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Have you ever been a part of hustle culture before?
have I been a part of it? I wouldn't
Yeah.
say so. I wouldn't. I think there was like a specific time frame, like a little bit after high school, where that was like everyone's mindset, and I kind of took to it. We sometimes we get ideas that really aren't our own, but they influence our life because we're just mindlessly consuming shit on the internet. But no, I don't think I've worked since I was 13, a W-2 job, just like grinding away, doing all sorts of hard labor jobs. My
Uh-huh.
dad specifically, he's always been a big laborer. He's 6'7", big guy. He's got he's like now he's sitting over like 300 pounds, just massive, and he's done construction. He's done all sorts of jobs. So he kind of pushed this like work ethic mindset into me of like, okay, well, you're a man, you got to work hard. Like you got to go to school, get a side job, keep going, keep going. And so my least favorite job that I've ever had was probably the first one where I was working at a plant nursery. But it taught me lessons of just like essentially growing plants and digging holes and just like the shittiness of digging holes. Like I feel like any job where you have a shovel in your hand is like the worst job you could possibly have. There's not a lot of enjoyment there. And I've done some construction work and it's just like, nah, like I'd prefer not to base my self-worth on whether or not I worked hard for someone else's company, bringing in that profits. But as of like the past few years, I've turned it inwards and tried to be more creative, develop more creative systems so I can work hard for something that actually fucking matters. And I take it you understand that 100%.
200%.
200%. I love that,
Yeah.
man. I love that. So energy optimization and productivity. Let's talk a little bit about this. So these two are super crucial for digital creators. Can you share some top strategies or tools you have for managing energy levels and staying productive throughout the day?
So the number one that comes to mind is definitely Google Calendar, Apple Reminders, and Apple Notes.
Okay.
Notion as well.
Yep.
So what I personally do with Apple Notes is every night I plan my day before with the most important tasks that I have to do for the next day. So usually be like 3 to 5, and depending on the day, obviously, like today, I actually had to do a bunch of shit. Well, I basically had to schedule my content, plan the content. I had to edit a bunch of like emails that I wrote yesterday. I batched all my emails in one day.
Do you? Wow.
I had to do that, and I had to do a bunch of other stuff. Like I low key have short term memory, so I have to like journal throughout the day to basically
Like what's
reflect on
going
what
on?
I did. Yeah,
That might be a superpower in some way, shape, or form, though, because a lot of people, this is what I find in people who aren't high performers is that they don't write things down because they think that they'll be able to remember it. And so whenever somebody mentions that to me, that, oh, I don't need to write it down, like I'll remember it, a lot of times, because we have the awareness of people trying to teach people productivity and performance, it's like I write absolutely everything down. If I hear something good or I have an idea that's good in my head, like I have sticky notes just plastered everywhere. I have all sorts of journals for different styles of, like, I have, reflection journals. I have my daily tasks, planned the night before, and then just more of like a general writing ideation journal. And I used to kind of batch it all together in the same notebook, and holy crap, that was a mess. And so getting different color coding it and getting different colors for each category of journaling really started to change things. And I like Notion as well. I mean, like you said, Notion, Google Calendars. With Notion, though, I feel like a lot of times there's too much perfectionism in me. It's like, oh, I spend way too much time, or I used to, really. I've had to get out of it. Just trying to create the perfect system, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't use that system because it's too perfect and you don't want to fuck it up. But now it's just like I kind of thrive in the chaos, because the chaos creates the clarity necessary to move on and actually, fry bigger fish. But writing with, pens and pencils and whatnot, I feel like I retain a lot more of the ideas that way.
Yeah, for sure. One thing though, before I jump into the energy optimization, definitely remind me about commonplace books. Just remember that word.
Commonplace books.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So with energy optimization, I usually like taking cold showers. Like I only take cold showers. Honestly, I don't take any warm showers at all.
Psycho.
That's one thing. Another thing is that when I go to sleep, I have like 8 different tactics, but off the top of my head, I sleep in boxers. I sleep in 60-degree AC. I sleep with one thin sheet. Sometimes I don't even use the sheet. I don't use pillows because pillows, like they damage they don't damage your neck, but they affect your neck. Like they give you a neck pain and sometimes back pain. And I also like to eat peanut butter sometimes, like a peanut butter sandwich before going to bed, like an hour, because I didn't know the signs before then, but I just knew in my head that peanut butter just helps you relax. And after reading up on it, it basically neutralizes your blood sugar levels, and apparently that just helps you relax.
Dude, I might have to try that one.
Yeah, either peanut butter or black tea or white tea.
Black tea, white tea.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna write that down somewhere.
Yeah. Write it down right now so you don't forget.
Commonplace books.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of commonplace books, I basically got the idea when I was burned out, when I was writing my book. I was reading like almost all day, so I wanted to capture these ideas into like specific themes. So I searched up commonplace books because I got the idea from somewhere. I think it was in Discord or something. And I basically just capture ideas within different themes, where I basically have a commonplace book on content, creativity, and branding. And I also have a commonplace book on fitness, health, performance, all that stuff. I have another one on habits as well. Here they are. Here's one. This is one of them where it's basically just health, wellness, nutrition, performance, mental, physical, and biohacking. The other ones I would have to get them, but this one right here is a pretty big one, or the most used in the past, because this is where I would like write down a bunch of like bias effects in terms of psychology. So I can read one right now where
go for it.
Effective forecasting. I think I got this from The Art of Thinking Clearly, but this is basically the inability to predict our future, because we have like certain emotions that basically just drive us to just, I don't know. I'm not the best at this, but
you're good,
it's
brother.
basically the inability to predict our future. That's one of them. The self-serving bias, human tendency in which we give ourselves credit for success in a selfish manner and delegate our failures to other external factors. So it's most of the time just like blaming other things instead of blaming ourselves. But
You've read, you must have read like a lot of philosophy. A lot of times I look at your content, and when I'm engaging in it, you have a very you have a very rigid outlook on a lot of things, and you have these convictions, which I respect. I think if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything, right? There's some old Stoic quote. But does the commonplace books play a role in your content structure, I would say, in your content planning as well?
Not necessarily, no.
Not necessarily, okay.
It's mostly just like a back-end system in case I like want to improve my own content. I have like certain tactics and stuff that I write down, or if I want to monetize in a certain way, or if I want to like take up a certain like branding technique, and I'll look back at the certain commonplace book that I wrote that in, and then just refer back to that. And in terms of that as well, I have this bigger one right here where it basically goes over offers, offer creations, and offer promotions, products, services, monetization methods, marketing strategies, copywriting tips and tricks. Like the whole commonplace book is just like based on that stuff that I write down. So whatever theme I want to capture, I will write it down in that commonplace book for my own reference, so I can just like look back at it when like in my free time if I'm like not busy.
It's a fantastic idea. I didn't even realize I was really doing that and that there was a word for it. So thank you for putting me onto that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wow. All right, so we've talked about, energy optimization, a little bit of psychology, performance, creativity, and your newsletter. Let's talk about clarity, because that is a huge thing that you're about. Mental clarity and focus in a distracted world. In a world of focus and distractions, maintaining mental clarity and focus is challenging. Everybody understands this. What practices or techniques do you recommend to digital creators to cultivate these qualities?
So one thing is definitely your environment. You definitely have to optimize your environment to have the clarity, because if you have a messy desk, your brain is subconsciously not going to want to do the work because it's focusing on everything else that's around your laptop or your book or whatever. And that's one piece of the puzzle. I definitely recommend getting a diffuser, an air purifier as well. Those are just like some bonus tips.
Those are always good tips.
Right next to me, I have an air purifier, and I have like 2 diffusers. But apart from that, I definitely recommend journaling as well. Taking a piece of paper and just writing down any crucial ideas that you might have. As I said before, walking in nature. I personally like the cruise board as well. I'm not sure if you know what that is, or if
familiar with that.
Yeah, and there's definitely more, but I would have to like look back at my newsletters and stuff, because
there's tons, man. There's tons. I'm with you.
Like it's all there, man. Like
yeah. So I'll plug your newsletter in the show notes for sure. Yeah. Hopefully you get some subscribers from it. But so we're gonna go through. We that's mental clarity and focus, which really good tips, dude. I think air quality.
For focus as well. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
I definitely recommend instrumental music. That's something else that I like to tie into my work. So I got the idea from you, 40 hertz binaural beats, I think it's called.
Yeah, 30 hertz binaural beats.
Before that, I was just listening to like video game music, honestly, like
little Minecraft music,
Lofi beats, Minecraft, and The Last of Us.
Dude, that is so. Game soundtracks are so underrated, I've found. I know in the creator space, like with Dakota Robertson and Jack Moses, they're constantly advocates of like Hans Zimmer, the really classical movie soundtracks, and those work really well. I've conditioned myself with a flow trigger with Oppenheimer, the soundtrack for Oppenheimer. And so every time I play that, it's like, okay, it's time to write my weekly newsletter. It's time to get, dive deep into these ideas and just write for however long is necessary to complete it. But the video game soundtracks, that's super slept on. And those binaural beats, those 40 hertz binaural beats was from Andrew Huberman. Actually, he was saying that on, like, if you were to take like top 5 music for studying or trying to focus, he actually says that no music is best, which is weird, but there's probably some data to back that. And then it's 40 hertz binaural beats, then it's classical music and like lo-fi like soundtracks and stuff, And then it's like, music with lyrics in it at the bottom. Obviously, lyrical music is very distracting. So that's a great tip. For everyone in the audience, we'll plug some of those in the bottom, especially the Minecraft music, because it's timeless.
I'll send you my personal playlist too.
Dude, yeah, we'll play like Spotify, Apple Music, Spotify.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
But another thing for focus, also dark chocolate is pretty good for that as well.
Dude, I've heard that, but I've never actually tried that. I should probably go buy some at the store. Like what is it, like this 70% plus cacao?
I don't know about that. I just look for dark chocolate, honestly. But yeah.
I'll check that. I'll check that out. Like are you doing that like before deep work?
I don't optimize my habits of eating dark chocolate, but I just eat it whenever I already ate and I want a snack, or if I just want to, just chill.
Dude, there's a tweet right there. I don't optimize for dark chocolate.
I'll just eat it whenever, But,
dude, I'll try that out. I'm gonna write that down. A little dark chocolate.
It's good.
Yeah, I am a fan of it. I never eat it before like a focus bout though. And I'm sure that there's all sorts of other foods that play a key role. Hydration being a massive one. For everybody in the audience, you definitely should stay hydrated. I noticed Drew was sitting there drinking some water, which if you haven't already, drink some more water.
Let me drink some more water.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've went through it all, right? I think the last one is effective systems for time management. Let's talk a little bit about time management. And have you ever had any struggles with time management, and did it force you into kind of, I know a lot of people who get into something is because they have a weakness there and then they've overcame that problem and now they're sharing solutions.
Yeah, so in terms of how I got into it, I can't remember like in depth. I just know that it started in school.
Okay.
Where we had heavy workloads with athletics. So at the time, my mind was just not meant to handle those two things. So that's when I got more into time management. But I usually preach like waking up early, definitely. Even if you don't even have anything to do in the morning, like just wake up early, because you have more time throughout the day to just think and just reflect. I definitely recommend waking up around 6:45 or at the latest 7:30. At the latest.
Oh yeah.
Nowhere past
Dude,
that.
I'm a 6:50 kind of guy a lot of times, and then even if I don't have anything urgent, I try to spend Sundays for rest. You have all my focus today, right? I'm going to be doing a little bit of writing and reading just because I do enjoy those. But outside of that, I really try to schedule nothing for Sunday just so I can ideate. But time management is, you talk about Google Calendar. You mentioned that a little earlier. When did you start getting into planning your day kind of meticulously through like a calendar app?
So I use Google Calendar for certain things, like certain like events, and also for like this call, for example. I scheduled that into Google Calendar. But I usually like optimize my daily routine with Apple reminders. So let me get my phone real quick. I'll read you my daily reminders and stuff.
Dude, I'd love to hear it.
And another thing as well, I used to use this board right here. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
I used to use that back then with my content agency. I would have like daily like tasks that I had to complete, and also like weekly tasks on the weekends. But right now, every day I have a nonfiction reading session. I either run or lift in the morning. I have 3 to 5 minute dead hangs in the morning as well, because dead hangs like just help you grow taller, and they just help they help your
good for longevity. Absolutely. Dude, I need to schedule that in. I'm learning a lot from you, Drew.
Yeah, but especially since I'm into calisthenics as well, like advanced calisthenics, it's definitely a good thing to tie into there. Like just do it every day. I engage under X post, like I have that as a reminder, like every like 6 hours or so. I got that advice from Harry Beadle, because I was just engaging 1 time per day, and now I try to engage like 2 to 3 times per day throughout the day.
I got the advice of 3 times a day at 10 minutes per every single, So, I mean, it helps. That's how you grow your account for sure.
Yeah. Another one, do something that scares you, like maybe a conversation, a new hobby, an endeavor, or a lifestyle change. I practice Duolingo, so I try to learn French. Like I studied French in high school
Oh, yeah.
throughout my whole high school career, so I just kept going on with that.
So why French? Just like, you have any French family members or relatives?
No, I
Nope.
mean I've had people say I look French, but um, no.
So this is a little anecdote, but I'm just curious. How fluent would you say you are in French?
Like beginner to intermediate,
Okay.
I'd say.
That's pretty good. I started doing Duolingo for Japanese, and I learned a little bit of Spanish in high school. I actually got to a point where I would say I was fluent. Like, even today, I can still hear what people say in Spanish, but I can't. I feel like hearing is easier than trying to actually speak it yourself.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I definitely for me, like when it comes to French, I'm better at reading
Ah,
compared to listening. But I see what you mean. Yeah,
yeah.
like I speak Spanish as well, and I can speak it, but I can't read it, and I can't write it. So
Reading Spanish that is something else. That is hard. I've tried doing that. I'm just like, all right, I feel like I can get like a page in, and then I'm like, all right, now I'm some words, some of the vocab's just starting to get out there. But yeah,
I know.
learning another language is super powerful, especially for different modes of thinking. You almost have to become entirely new person when you're speaking a different language. You're like reinventing yourself.
That too. Like I feel like most people are scared of just like becoming a new person. Like I
Yeah.
personally hate like staying the same. Like I've changed like a lot since like the beginning of my middle school career. Like I've changed immensely compared to most people around me because I just kept on,
When when people aren't, sorry to interrupt you, when people aren't changing, then they're still kind of trying to drag you back down to the person that you once were when they see you. So it's like, all right, we got to start cutting people off.
yeah, I know what you mean. But even like family, man, like I know like it sounds bad, but at the same time, if they're like dragging you down and you have bigger goals than them, like much bigger goals, like at some point you have to be
Yeah.
willing to just distance yourself from them.
Dude,
So
that resonated, man. That resonated. I agree 100%. It's you got to be ruthless with your time, but also
mhm.
like, really really giving with it as well. That doesn't really roll off the tongue too well.
I know what
But
you mean, but the audience probably
yeah,
doesn't.
well, audience, you don't need to know. This is a conversation between me and Drew. But
Yeah.
so, dude, we've touched on just like every single topic for performance, which I love. Um, and just for future goals and visions, obviously you're looking ahead. You're trying to grow. What are your goals for enhancing the performance and lifestyle of digital creators? Are there any upcoming projects or collaborations that you're going to be putting out there soon?
So in terms of collaborations, I'm not sure because I've never like been big into like partnering and stuff. Like I've never had a business partner, and
Lone Wolf.
I don't really want to have one either because I feel like I work much better alone. Like
Yeah,
it shows off in school as well. Like I've always worked better alone. But in terms of collaborations, I'm open to it, but I'm not like chasing it. And
absolutely.
in terms of the goal with it, like I launched a consulting offer. I want to see where that goes, but I'm sure I also want to tie in content creation and branding because that's like my whole like identity as well. So yeah, it's just like a whole process of just like trying new things and trying to like combine different things into one. So
You seem like a man who iterates quite a bit, and I can respect that
yeah.
because that's it. That's what growth is failing or trying, failing, and then realizing, okay, that's a data point. Let's continue on. So,
Mhm.
Drew, this conversation has been awesome. Let's keep it short and sweet. A good little 45-minute mark. That's what we're coming up on. If there's one message that you can leave the audience, what would that message be?
Um, don't be scared to try new things. That's a great one right there.
That's a solid one. It's timeless, and people need to hear that time and time again. So everyone, this is DrewXInsights. His everything he has will be plugged in the show notes. You'll find his X account over there. Anything Drew wants me to plug in afterwards. But yeah, don't be scared to try new things. This is episode 21 of the Way We Capture podcast. And if you guys enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It is a zero-cost way to support me and what I do. We have wonderful guests on like Drew every week on Tuesday. So stay creative, guys.